This next list is about Christianity and its origins. The first term on the list for the origins of Christianity is Jesus. According to the Gospels of Luke, Jesus was born in a stable because no inn could accommodate his parents Joseph and Mary. This occurred during the reign of King Herod. The accounts of Jesus' life are in the New Testament. Among them, there are 4 Gospels written in Greek some years after his death. The Gospels are Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. The Gospels state that Jesus began first preaching in Galilee. Jesus taught by using parables. These are simple stories that explain a moral or religious lesson. Eventually, the Romans sentenced Jesus to die. Jesus was crucified on the cross. The Gospels say that 3 days later, Jesus rose from the dead. This is known as resurrection to Christians. Later, Christians believe that he joined his Father God in heaven. The disciples continued to spread his message. The second item on the list for the spread of Christianity and its origins is the Apostle Paul. After Jesus, disciples like Paul began spreading the news of his life and teachings. Paul came from Tarsus, a town which is now in what is Asia Minor or Turkey. He was originally opposed to Christianity. One day when Paul was traveling to Damascus, he had a vision that changed his life. He became a missionary who spread Christianity all over the Greek-speaking world. It is believed by Christians that he was beheaded in Rome around 65 CE when the Romans began persecuting Christians. The third item on the list for the origins of Christianity is Emperor Constantine. Emperor Constantine was a Roman emperor from 306 to 337 CE. He is the first Roman emperor to become a Christian. Constantine had a vision of a cross hanging in the sky before a battle known as Milvian Bridge, just outside of Rome. Around the cross, it read, "In this sign you will conquer." Constantine had a dream that night and interpreted that if he converted, he would win the battle. The soldiers put the first 2 letters of the word Christ on their shields. In 313 CE, he announced the Edict of Milan, which allowed Christians to practice openly. Later, Emperor Theodosius banned pagan sacrifices, and by 380, Christianity was the official religion of Rome. The fourth term on the list are Christians. Christianity began in an area of the Roman Empire called Judea. Many of the biblical sites are located there, like Jerusalem, Nazareth, and Bethlehem. Before Christianity, in and around this area, you had the religions of Judaism and something called paganism. Paganism is a term that means the belief in a polytheistic religion. In other words, belief in many gods such as the Greek gods of Mount Olympus. Judaism and Christianity, however, are monotheism, the belief in one God. Early Christians were persecuted by the Romans. Some were crucified, some were burned to death, some were torn apart by wild animals in arenas. According to the Gospels, Christians believe that Jesus is the Son of God. Christians believe that Jesus was crucified and was then resurrected. Christianity was eventually accepted by the Roman Empire. The last item on the list for the origins of Christianity are the disciples. A disciple is a person who helps spread the religious teachings of another. But what's the difference between a disciple and an apostle? A disciple is a student, and an apostle is someone who spreads the message. So these terms could be used interchangeably for the 12 disciples or apostles of Jesus. The disciples, apostles, are depicted in the famous painting by Leonardo da Vinci called The Last Supper. You could see this painting in Milan, Italy. But make sure you make a reservation way ahead of time, because it could take months to see it. The 12 apostles, from left to right, are the following: Bartholomew, James, Andrew, Judas, Peter, John. Of course, in the center you have Jesus. Then Thomas, James the Greater, Philip, Matthew, Jude, and Simon. That's the Peppy List on the origins of Christianity. Please leave comments and questions.